Hey, how's it going? It's me, and you're watching Pro307. We've made it to episode 10 of the fail vlog, and I thought we'd just chill out in a more chilled kind of location for this episode. Now I know what you're thinking, Pro307 surely lives in a place like this.
Yeah.
So apparently the only way to become a millionaire out of drifting is if you were a billionaire in the first place. I think they should put out a memo about that. I think somebody should let us know before we start driving drift cars that that's the case. In this episode we're going to cover SDC round 2 and round 3. Last episode of the fail vlog we did the Driftland Bash, but to give you a bit of catch up, we're going to go into SDC round 2, which round 2 and round 3 are at Driftland. SDC's at Driftland, and round 2 was the BDC layout, which I thought was an interesting layout for the second round of the championship. Now I understood why they run the layout they did for the first round of the championship. They were trying a new idea with how they were going to qualify. They wanted to get a lot more people into the championship, so they opened it up. They got rid of the licensing, opened it up to everybody. So the first layout was quite a slow technical layout, and I think it was kind of to help the slower cars, maybe not, maybe wrong. Put in the comments if you think I'm wrong, but if you want to check out how round 1 went with me drifting with my teammate Stephen Black, check out some of the previous episodes, you'll see that. So round 2, BDC layout, and like usual in Scotland it was wet, very wet. This is what a last place qualifying run looks like. So I messed up in the middle section of the track. I don't know what happened, but the car offered to over-rotate. I threw on more lock to try and catch it, and although I didn't spin, it didn't look particularly good, and I was offline a bit, so it's pretty clear why I didn't qualify well. But I was happy that I'd qualified. It shows we're making a bit of progress, going from not qualifying to winning my first battle to, you know, still being able to qualify. A bit disappointing, because at this point I was looking to see a bit of progress. I was wanting to see, you know, maybe 10th. Was that too much to ask? Maybe. I still go to these events with the idea of, you know, winning, and as far away as that seems, I don't see the point turning up just to compete without that, you know, attitude of wanting to win. So without going into too much practice, I'll show you some clips. It was very wet, conditions were difficult, and I got the chance to twin with some drivers. A lot of skill in the driving, and a lot of the drivers pushing really hard, pushing off track.
You make the Lord very nervous.
the only way you can find limit the track is, you know, actually pushing off it. I feel like I hold back a little bit because I don't see the point in destroying the car before we've even gotten into competition and before I'm even up to driving it to a point where I can destroy the car. So I was maybe playing it a little bit too safe still. And yeah, we went into the battles. So I was 32nd qualifying, which means I go up against first place qualifier. So my first battle was against Ross Stark. Somebody I hadn't actually got the chance to speak to before the event, but because he was first place qualifying, I was last place qualifying, it's just how it worked out. We had a bit of time standing waiting for our chance to go on track, and yeah, it was really nice to meet Ross. First time I've went up against him in any kind of battle, and I was not very confident. Not very confident at all. I mean, he qualified first place, and a lot of really skilled drivers at SDC. It was, you know, for me to be last to go up against him was going to be near impossible. I thought anyway. But as drifting goes, your luck sometimes has a lot to play in the competition. So by the time we went out on track to compete, the conditions had changed since qualifying, and the organisers decided to give us a first run just as a practice to see how conditions had changed. So our first run we went out to do was not competition, it was just a practice run. And the first thing we noticed was, like, holy crap, there's grip. There's a lot of grip, and we had so much grip dialed into the cars for the wet. I had so much grip dialed in for the wet that I was really struggling to break traction, and we were both struggling. Lucky for me, I struggled a little bit less. This is how I'm putting it. I don't believe I actually bet Ross in this. It's just that I struggled a little bit less with the conditions, and I somehow managed to take the win, which was a real shame for Ross, but it was points in the table for me. So that means I beat a BMW Compact. So if we bring up the Pro307 scoreboard, that's the BMW Compact 1, Pro307 1. That's right, beating you BMW Compacts. Sorry about that, Ross. I'm sure not very much help in your championship there, but as drifting happens, that's how it is. I look forward to battling you again in the future. So because I was through, I was up against, my next competition was Stuart McClellan, which I was dying to go up against Stuart because he's one of the quickest drivers at Driftland. He's got about, I think it's about 700 horsepower his BMW. It's very light, and to me this was a chance to see how my RB compared to his, you know, BMW. And I don't know what it was, it just didn't happen for me. I ended up throwing a power steering belt as I entered for the first corner, and the car just wasn't fit to, you can't drive an S-body without power steering, it's a nightmare. I tried, but no, there's no chance. When I pulled up next to the start marshal line, I just had to, I couldn't even call a 5-minute rule because I didn't have I'd run out of belts because I've thrown a belt in the practice previously, So I just did call it a day at that, which I think honestly Stuart was a bit more disappointed than me that that happened. He really looked upset in the position. He just won, but clearly he wanted the chance to be in the chase position up against me as well. So I'll get my chance. You'll get your chance, Stuart, next time. Definitely. So what did I take from round 2 at SDC? Again, it was a case of just more seat time, getting used to the car, getting used to competition, getting over this kind of like fear barrier, and getting more comfortable just being in that race car. The thing that really surprised me is that you can dial too much grip into these drift cars. Other thing is, I felt the car wasn't running just 100%, and I think it maybe came down to fuel filters. I changed fuel filters before the day, and it seemed to add an awful lot of fuel in to the map, and I don't know, it just seemed to run really rich, which car still run okay, especially in the wet, but I was running that much grip in the wet that when the track dried out, it was almost like I was struggling to spin the wheels. Another thing I'm learning with the RB is the power's all the top end. You really have to be hard in the clutch and keep the revs up in the high, especially for full outer. You need to be able to spin the wheels and get the car right round the outside of the track. Now, I did used to run electric power steering, but I felt it was draining a lot out of the electrical system, so I went back to the mechanical power steering, the hydraulic pump. Now, a lot of people have criticised me for that, but it's like you don't have to worry about switching it on before you go out on track. It's always on. In my opinion, it's a more reliable system for me. But it kept throwing belts, and it wasn't until I actually phoned a company, RB Motorsport, I sometimes deal with, and I think I was speaking to them for some complete other reason. I just mentioned to the guys at RB, yeah, my car keeps throwing power steering belts, I can't understand what's going on. And he said to me, are you running a Ross Performance harmonic damper? I'm like, yeah, I'm running a Ross harmonic damper. And apparently that's a problem. Apparently, I mean, I don't want to disrespect a manufacturer like Ross Performance, but apparently you're better running a standard one or an ATI damper. And RB Motorsport, they were very honest with me and says, you know, we'll send you the ATI damper, and if it doesn't fix the problem, we'll take it back. So in round 3, I was running an ATI damper, and I didn't have any issues. I didn't have any alignment issues. I didn't have any belts coming off. In fact, round 3 for me was pretty flawless, which we're about to get into. My timeline's a bit out here, and I know it's not like a Marvel Cinematic timeline. It's like round 2, then there was Driftland Bash, then there was round 3. Just the way I've edited it's ended up with episode 9 being before and after, whatever. So now we're getting into round 3. Now, there's a few things I did to the car before round 3. One was the ATI damper, and 2 was I put the roll bar on the back of the car. I put the roll bar on the back of the car because I felt that, I don't know, it just felt a bit floaty at the back end, and although I had a lot of grip in the wet, I just wanted to try something a bit different, and I had a bit of a feeling that I'd done the wrong thing taking the back roll bar off. So I fired it back on, adjusted it up, I checked the suspension to make sure everything was right, because I want to go down to the vents and I want to be the most reliable I can and have the best chance of competing at the events. Although I'm lacking a bit seat time and lacking a bit talent, really. So round 3 was at Driftland again. All SDC rounds are at Driftland, and the layout was the SDC licensing day layout, which if you know Driftland's second entry, it's a really good layout. It's good for really fast high angle entries, which I don't know, for some reason on that day just seemed to work for me. And it's one of those layouts that most drivers have had a lot of practice at. so it's a really good layout for competing in. It still catches a lot of people out, especially if the weather's as bad as it was that day. So my practices were actually, for a change, really good. I was really struggling with lag, especially through the tighter sections of the track, trying to keep it in the higher gears and use the clutch more rather than shifting down. When I was shifting down to second, the car just didn't seem to drive so well as it was when it was in third. It seemed to be able to pull away a lot better in third. I don't know what it was, for the first kind of couple of runs, again, I felt like I hadn't drifted in ages, and it just seemed to take quite a lot of the practice just to get the hang of driving the car again. But as soon as I kind of got it, it just, it clicked like that. And I remember my first qualifying run I went in, I thought, that's, it's not too bad. And on my second qualifying run, I just decided to just go a little bit harder, and I actually run my wing along the driftland wall, and it just sounded awesome. And I think I had people saying I had the judges on their feet, and it was just awesome to be able to do that. But I let it bog down through the slower section of the track, and I lost out in points. I qualified 19th, which to me was my personal best, and as long as I'm going that way, I'm happy. But in the same way, it should have been better. I should have been, with that entry, and if I'd gotten the rest of the circuit right, I should have been top 5. But hey ho, it's how it goes. So round 3, qualified 19th, up against Billy Murray. No, not that Bill Murray. Billy Murray from SDC drives a orange and black BMW Compact. Seems to be a lot of these compacts at Driftland. Billy's somebody I haven't been up against, although I know of from the drift days and the SDC events. And he was in the lead position, I was chasing. So we lined up in a line, the start marshal lifted his hands, and Billy just went for it. He's just like, fuck you guys, I'm out of here. He's gone. Start marshal didn't even get a chance to drop his hands, and of course me, like the total fanny that I am, I'm sitting there like, ex-stock car driver that I am, you get scolded heavily for jumping the lights. The start marshal almost makes it a point of punishing you if you jump the start line, and it's just something I don't generally do. But this is not a race.
Not a race, guys!
Crap, this still counts. I've got to go for this. So I think I caught him by the second clip. He had quite a length of cars in front of me, and I did manage to catch up with him, and I held a pretty angry line through the section. I didn't have very good proximity with him, but I think I was on the better line. And yeah, after that I had no idea what had happened. I don't know if I'd been a 0 or if I'd scored any points for that run because I was so far back on entry. So we swapped round, and when I was in the lead position, I wasn't messing about, I wasn't hanging on. As soon as the start marshal started us, I was gone. end of it, I genuinely had no idea who'd won. And the start marshal actually pointed to Billy for the win. Which he was absolutely delighted at, and so he should be. But there had been a bit of a mistake, and it was actually me that had won the battle.
It almost had you. You almost had me.
And it's just how drifting goes sometimes. I went back to the pits absolutely furious at being out in top 32 at myself, not at anybody else. But yeah, that's how that went down. So I suppose we can go back to the Pro307 scoreboard. That's BMW Compact 1, Pro307 2. Yeah, we're making progress. We're making progress. So I was quite chuffed at that win. I was, you know, all through the season, round 1, 2 and 3, I've managed to get past top 32, which from like the previous year not being able to qualify to being able to win battles is mega for me. It's just everything. And the only problem with that was my next opponent was Mark Gemmell, which is a BDC driver running a big V8 350Z. And it should have been intimidating, but Mark was really nice. He came over and, you know, spoke to me and wished me luck. And it's amazing that drifting, it's just a different crowd, and everybody gets on so well, and you know, everybody's really nice, and I just like the vibe down at a drift day, you know. Problem with my run is that for whatever reason I just thought I was too close and I straightened. I got too tight into the corner, and I don't know what it was. I'm still a bit worried that I'm going to break the car, maybe, I don't know, but I should have been on the handbrake, I should have had my foot in the clutch, and I should have been up on the limiter with the throttle, keeping it on boost. But I didn't. I straightened, and that gave me an instant zero. And you know, it's kind of, you can't give Mark Gemmell an inch. You've to be there with him, or else you're not winning the battle. I would say it's probably my best entry I've ever done at Driftland. Fair enough, I wasn't scraping the wall, but I mean, I had pretty serious angle on it, and I had good pace, I think. The only problem is I'm not getting back in the throttle soon enough. The engine's a bit laggy, and when it's running like it's been, you're either no power or all power, and I'm always worried about spinning the car, so I was just a bit slow at getting back in the power. And yeah, the rest of the run was really good. I think I was on most of the clips. Other than proximity, I think the last couple of clips Mark caught up with me. But you know, altogether, I don't think it was a bad run. But with my zero for the chase run, there's just no way I was beating him. So that was me out again. round 3 really was an awesome event for me. It's the first time I've truly felt comfortable in the car. It's the first time the handling's been right. I'm still learning a bit with dialing in grip to the car. I feel that maybe I'm trying to run a bit too much grip sometimes in the dry, and that's really affecting my runs. It's just something I have to work on, and it's been something I've been working on as I've been going to practice days and that. So that's 3 rounds where I've qualified. Well, first one I didn't qualify, it was different rules. That was, I called out Stephen Black. So it's 2 rounds where I've qualified, and 3 rounds where I've won a battle. So that places me 8th in the championship, which I'm absolutely over the moon with. Hopefully for round 4, which is the night fight, hopefully I can go up. I'd like to be in the podium. Everybody, that's the whole point we're doing it. We'd like to win a trophy, be in the podium, but you know, I'm up against some really stiff competition. If it's my night, it might happen. I'm happy with the car. I'm going to be going back to the rolling road with the car to get it mapped. With the 3.54 diff, I should be able to put good power down onto the dyno, and we'll get a really accurate figure. And just make sure it's running 110% for the final round at STC. Also got a couple of events in between that I'll show you in the next episode of the fail vlog. I suppose I'm in debt once again to V Performance for filming the footage. Thanks very much. It's always appreciated what they do for us. It gives me something extra to show you guys, and it gives the fail vlog just that little bit extra. The in-car stuff's good, but there's only so much you can show with in-car footage. So, thanks guys. Well, once again, I suppose I have to say thank you very much for viewing, and thanks very much for subscribing to the channel. I see I'm slowly creeping up, and more viewers are subscribing, which thank you very much. I'll try and get some more content out for you as soon as I can. I'm just myself, work full time and doing the drifting. This is just something I like doing to just support my driving. And thank you very much for supporting me. Also check me out on Instagram and Facebook. Catch you later.